Paul Cleveland with Boundary Stone, and we're here to provide you with resources so that you can understand the world in which you live and that you can engage with it. Today I'd like to talk about the purpose of government and the limitations of government. I doubt there's too many people who believe that we could get along without any government. There are a few anarchists out there who believe that we can, but I think for most of us, the concept of government is a bit ingrained. I mean, after all, we live in a world where people will violate one another, and the evidence of that seems to occur on a daily basis. You know, anyone who has parented children can kind of understand this. I mean, you know, we don't teach our children to push other kids down on the playground or go steal their toys or those sorts of things, but often we find ourselves trying to clean up after our children engaging in those activities. And so, you know, good parenting, if we can ingrain a little enlightened self-interest in our children as they grow up, we've done a pretty good job. And even if you're a good parent, you know, at the end of the day, the individual person's going to be responsible for his own choices because we're all free agents. That is, we all make our own choices in life. And so from time to time we can be found to violate one another, to do things against others that ought to be restricted. All right, so government. What is the purpose of government? Well, the Apostle Paul said the purpose of government is to punish wrongdoers. Well, what wrongdoers? Well, the one thing is, if we think about justice, ultimate justice, I mean, God said that ultimate justice is that the penalty for sin is death. I don't think that's what God had in mind for this institution called government in our world. And so if we're thinking about, you know, who should be punished, well, of course, those who transgress most vagrantly against others, murderers, rapists, and thieves. That's what you want government to do. I think, though, government can play way beyond its bounds. For example, George Washington put it this way. He said, you know, government is not reason. It's not eloquent. It is force. And like fire, it's a dangerous servant and a fearful master. Washington was quite right here. You know, fire serves a very useful purpose in our lives. You know, I have a gas furnace that I use in the winter, and it has fire in it when it kicks on, and you know, that's very useful. It's useful to heat my home. I'm glad I'm not outside in the cold. But I want that fire to stay in that furnace. I don't want it burning down my house. And so it has limits, proper limits. And so in the same way, government needs limitations imposed upon it to work well. This is not something new. St. Augustine put it this way: in the absence of justice, what is sovereignty but organized robbery? And I'm afraid that's the direction that we've been going in the United States of America. Our government is so far beyond the bounds that were originally established for it that it bears no semblance for the original intent of the Constitution. So in a way, what can we say then about the direction that government is going in? Well, I think one thing we can say is that the aim of politics today, as H.L. Mencken put it, the aim of practical politics is to keep everybody up in arms, to keep people alarmed, and then clamorous to be led to safety. And so, you know, our government is trying to promote fear within people in order to gain more power and control over our lives. The other thing that we find with government is that, you know, it's every election is about who we're going to elect so that we'll get something good. And so, and once again, as Mencken put it, every election is a sort of advanced auction on stolen goods. That's not what we need in our country anymore. And to go down that path is going to be very destructive. I believe it was P.J. O'Rourke in his book Parliament of Whores put it this way, that that government is, as you give politicians and legislators and government officials more power and money, that's just like giving teenage boys whiskey and car keys. That's a dangerous recipe. Anyway, I hope this gives you something to think about in terms of the purpose of government. We can speak more widely to that in future editions. I'll see you next time. Once again, Dr. Paul Cleveland with Boundary Stone. Check out our resources at boundarystone.org. Talk to you next time.